This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Styles with a save. To the second here. A classic counter-attack. And Gibbs-White puts Nottingham Forest 2 ahead. Here's one. 1-0 Forest. Has made an even bigger difference there. Nottingham Forest have snatched the lead at Anfield.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Reiss and Lee Trent as we come to you very shortly after Nottingham Forest 2-1 defeat away at Brighton, which represents yet another opportunity missed to take the Reds 5 points clear of the drop zone and away from danger for more comfort. I'm joined today by Lee Clark and Reiss Lane. First off, how are you? Are you both?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad, Lee.
Yeah, not too bad. As I was just saying before we come on here, the most I smiled all day, other than Gibbs-White's goal, was when your face and your dad popped up on the TV, which was nice.
Yeah, I think that was just after and Doy just cut it back to like no one in the area. He got cleared. And it was just me just sort of saying like, what the hell has he done there? Or worse, that effect. He got picked up. The good news is, I mean, obviously for me anyway, is I was back before 6 o'clock, which for any Forest game that starts at 2 is a bit of a rarity. So I'll take it. Yeah, I just part came in clutch. But yeah, obviously we'll start with the game. News like yourselves. The team was pretty much as expected. It was, you know, obviously, well, apart from the goalkeeper, obviously, we knew Ortega would be a doubt for the game, obviously, with a calf injury that he picked up in the Fenerbahce game. But even after that game, listening to Radio Nottingham on the way back, they were pretty, you know, safe in their assumption that it'd be Angus Gunn in goal today, and obviously Sells would come back in on Monday or for his first day of training. But Sells didn't in fact start. It was then, you know, you're back four with Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo and Williams. And then you had obviously Sangare and Anderson in midfield. Hutchinson, Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi as an attacking three, if you like, and then Jesus up top. But was that pretty much what you expected to see, I suppose, after some of the comments, I guess, after Thursday even?
Yeah, I guess so. I think we'll all agree that that's our strongest outfield 10, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure. I felt that Sells was probably injured. I thought it was probably a game too soon for him. I mean, it probably was on the basis that we weren't expecting him to even start training until tomorrow. So I don't know. I think he obviously felt fit enough to play, and it was a case of needs must. But I'm not entirely sure it sends a great message out to Angus Gunn. What if this groin does go whilst Ortega's still recovering? He's gonna be thrown in, and it's kind of clear that no one really trusts him to be thrown in from the start in a Premier League game, because I think he would have played today, wouldn't he, if that was the case? So yeah, a little bit surprising at that, but yeah, certainly the team was. I thought it was a team that would go out there and probably get us a result today, to be honest. And I'm sure many others did as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting. I mean, even at one point, obviously, Sells went down as well. And like, you know, I don't know if he showed it on air. He went down a couple of times, and then the physios came in, got him expunged. He seems to be okay again, but it was a bit dicey. I think it's probably one of those, like, you know, on FM when they have the little orange inch next to their name. It felt a bit like playing someone through that, really, which is never good. Reiss, you know, he wasn't long, and so obviously, as Lee mentioned, perhaps undercooked Sells. I mean, the Brighton score, as the trying to get out Brighton score, an absolute disaster from Nico Williams allows Gomez a shot at goal, and it just goes straight through Sells' wrists. I mean, you can't really account for that, but here we are, 1-0 down.
Yeah, I mean, he makes a hash of the first clearance done to Nico, and it's kind of bobbling about pinball style, really. And then there's another chance to clear it, and he kind of nods it back to him, doesn't he? And to then play it out to Gomez, who obviously scores. But it's a tough one on Nico, and you can't really. You can afford him an off day, but we can't have off days because of the situation we're in. You know what I mean? You know, I can't get on his back too much and say this is that, because he's going to be probably player of the season. I mean, I know the bar's low, like, but the lad for Brighton, Gomez, I mean, he strikes it superbly well technically, but Sel should be saving it, mate. He should have saved it, in my opinion. It just went through his wrist, didn't it? Really. I think if you ask Sells when he's got a hand on that, and which should be a good solid hand in that situation, really, I think he'll be disappointed he's not saved that. But they said on Radio Nottingham on Thursday night that Sells was going to start training on Monday, so he's clearly undercooked and he's been chucked in. And I don't think we wouldn't have minded Angus Gunn being chucked in for one game, bearing in mind, I know he's a championship goalkeeper, really, but he's a Scottish international, and he looked a safe pair of hands, although not much to do against Crystal Palace. So not like we're chucking in like a kid, you know what I mean? So just a comedy of errors, mate, really, unfortunately. 2 chances to clear the ball, and then, a shot really we should have saved. But from a neutral point of view, which I haven't got, obviously being a Forest fan, it was one of them technically beautiful strikes when he hit the ball, Gomez. But Sel should have saved it for me.
Yeah, I think that's both things to be true there, really, can't they? I mean, like, he has hit it well. You have to give Gomez credit that he has struck it well. It's clear as a whistle, whatever else. But equally, I mean,
you could say Murillo could get a bit tighter as well to him. He kind of backs off him and allows him to have that shot, and he could get a bit tighter. But like I just said, 2 chances to clear the ball, 1 chance to make a save, and we've done neither, and we find ourselves 1-0 down early on.
Yeah, in not ideal circumstances. However, Lee, Forest did rally round pretty quickly, actually. And Gibbs-White, who I thought all game, to be honest, was pretty much on a mission to make sure we weren't going to lose, which unfortunately one player doesn't make a team. But absolutely superb strike that sort of fizzed and whizzed away from Verbruggen and found its way into the top corner.
Yeah, alas, a player wearing a Forest shirt shows they've got technical ability when it comes to shooting at goal. I mean, those situations have been massively underwhelming this season, haven't they? Pleased for Gibbs-White as well. Like you've just alluded to, I think I'm sick of banging the drum, but if there's one player that does care about the situation we find ourselves in, it's Gibbs-White. And I think it showed at the end as well. I think Sky, he had his own Declan Rice moment, didn't he, at the end? Every effing time, I think it was, that you could clearly see him say, I'm sure he's kind of alluding to the fact that every time we've got a chance to pull clear, we just waste the opportunity. And I think it's, I was pleased for him. It just sat up nicely for him, didn't it, as he hit it? And brilliant strike. No chance for the keeper. He was. I actually think he was the best player on the pitch, taken into consideration. I was a bit surprised Glenn Murray didn't give him man of the match, to be fair. Player of the match, as it's called these days. I thought he was. Head and shoulders over anything else on the pitch. I think the fact that Milner got the man of the match, I'm not entirely. I always tend to think if the co-commentator's struggling for a man of the match in a game that's not had kind of loads of standout moments like today's match, they probably go for the one that's going to be a good interview. And James Milner's the record breaker at the minute, isn't he? He's the hot topic. So I feel like that's why he went for Milner, and he was on the winning team. So I thought Gibbs-White was really good. Pleased for him to get a goal like that. But it's just so frustrating that we keep conceding straight after we do something good. 40 seconds. I mean, it makes a mockery of me going mad in my living room at the telly, and the neighbours thinking, what on earth's happened? Oh, I'm guessing Forest have scored. It's just ridiculous. 40 seconds. They've barely done showing the replays. I mean, it's just shambolic, isn't it, really? I mean, I'm sure we'll dive into it, but it's just pathetic. Really,
it was pathetic. I mean, we'll dive into it pretty straight away. I mean, although I will wait on Gibbs-White, I agree he was the best player on the pitch for me for both sides. I mean, that could be me being biased, whatever else. I just thought he was the only one that looked to really sort of grab it by the scruff of the neck and sort of drag it along. It was just very unfortunate that his teammates didn't have the same intention. But that totals replacement to 24 Premier League goals for Forest, which makes him second in our Premier League scoring charts behind Chris Wood. He's overtaken Brian Roy, I believe, today. By doing that. So what a way to get ahead of him, to be fair. But Reiss, as Lee alluded to, sorry to give you 2 Brighton goals, by the way. In the first Premier League game this season that had 3 goals in the first 15 minutes, perhaps no surprise it involved Forest. And in such very Forest-like circumstances, I mean, Lee's mentioning his living room. We barely finished celebrating in the stands and the ball's in the back of the net. I mean, just so easy. I mean, from everything, the ball through, allowing the cross to happen from Aina first and foremost, but most unforgivable for me was Williams. I think was it Hinchelwood who gets the ball. I could literally see his face where I was just light up when that ball came to him when he realised no one was near him, and it was just he had all the time in the world to pass it off. And Welbeck, to be fair to him, I mean you could argue Moreira should do better and whatever else, but I think it's fairly decent striker play. And obviously, he gets a shot on goal and it goes in. It's a good strike, but what a mess.
Yeah. Well, it's just the same old stuff, isn't it? Kind of week in, week out, what we're having to recycle. For those who do podcasts, Nico's caught far too high up the pitch. He's then jogging back because at the back stick there's a man free. If it was Hinchelwood, I'll take your word for it, mate. I was scrolling on Bet365 after we'd just scored, and I literally seen our game suspended, and I thought, oh God, is it like a VAR check or something like that? And then it flashed up 2-1. I was like, Jesus, like Lee said, you're literally still watching the replays of our goals. And yeah, again, I think Murillo should get a bit tighter to Welbeck and make it difficult for him to turn. It was similar to the goal what Jesus scored, wanted at Brentford the other week, where I think it was it Nathan Collins who kind of allowed him to turn and get his shot away. Very similar style goal. And, when he turns Welbeck, he hits it into the ground. And Sells can't really do nothing about that one, unfortunately. Welbeck's been around the Premier League his whole career, and he's a wise old fox. And I think it takes him double figures for the season. So he's still got it, and he still knows his way around the Premier League. And yeah, we get ourselves a foothold in the game, and then 40 seconds later, it's taken away from us again. And it's just so frustrating watching it as a fan.
The thing is, I suppose Sells did actually redeem himself slightly, Lee, because it could have been a lot worse very shortly afterwards. Yeah. Again, Williams being suspectable, and obviously Matoma ran through, and then Sells that probably makes amends for the first save, really, because you'd expected one of those two to go in. I think it's just bizarre. I know he didn't have the best of games. I didn't think he was that bad against Fenerbahce, but by his standards, it wasn't a good performance for him at all. But today, we were sort of saying, bring Nets on after 25 minutes. It was that bad. Like, how can you even account for that?
Well, you can't, can you? He's obviously shattered, isn't he? He's running on empty. That's the only thing I can put it down to. He's been such a. Again, I know Reiss will shout me for this because social media is not a true reflection of the fan base, is it? But you've got people kind of saying that you can't call him because he's got lots of credit in the bank. Of course he has, but you've got to react to what you've just seen, and he's had a bad game. It doesn't mean we dislike him all of a sudden and we think he needs dropping. But what are we supposed to say? They've scored 2 goals. Once again, we've conceded 2 goals against a team that have not had to work for them at all. They're just avoidable goals. Like, do you know if that game finishes 1-1 today, Brighton fans would have said, well, you know what? We've played really well today, but their goals are banger. There's nothing. The keeper doesn't save that on a stepladder. We've just been hit by a world-class finish. But every time we lose a game, we don't get that situation. Everything's always avoidable. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with Nico Williams. Is one of them players that's got to play every minute of every game, it seems, because we've not quite got the depth. I think what I did see in the 2 appearances that Luca Netz has made now is someone who is capable of coming in and taking some of the strain off of Williams a little bit. It's frustrating he's not been put into the Europa League squad, but I know you can only name a certain number of players in that, so let's not go down that rabbit hole again. But yeah, what I would say is if he's really struggling with fatigue and his fitness, then put Nets in for a game. This is what you have a squad for. And like I keep banging the drum again, these players aren't going to get better by getting 5 and 10 minutes here and there when someone's leg is literally hanging off or they physically can't walk. They need appearances. And if Williams is going to keep dropping disaster classes like that, I'm not saying he's going to do, but I actually thought he was pretty poor against Fenerbahce, to be fair. But again, I cut him the slack there because I said in an ideal world we wouldn't play him tonight. But who do you play left back if you don't play him? Well, he started at right back, I think, didn't he? But you get my point. But yeah, you've got to call it out when it happens because it's out of character for him. He's kicked on so much, but that level of performance today was like stuff we used to see in 2022 when we first signed him. It was really, really bad. And like I say, because he's been so good, it's more concerning now, I guess. I think in 2022, we weren't sure, particularly on this podcast, I suppose, we weren't sure whether he was ever going to be at the required level to be a regular Premier League player. I mean, he's completely blown that theory out of the water. So that's what makes it so concerning now, I think, is that he's had these performances. But like I say, let's hope it is just a bit of fatigue. He needs a bit of rest. I actually think with City coming up, and I mean, I know it'd be throwing nets into the Wolves a little bit, but just give him a rest. Just give him a prolonged rest. Take him out of the firing line. Is anyone expecting us to get anything at City? I'm not saying we should write it off, but use these squad players. If there's players that are really struggling to, shake off these little niggles and, they weren't even like they weren't even good pieces of play where you can kind of think, oh, he's been skinned for pace. They were just lazy and lackluster. I mean, he was practically jogging for that second goal. That's not Nico Williams. Nico Williams is hot on his sleeve, bust a gut, tries to block and defend everything with his life, and that's why it looked so out of character. You've got to call it out for what it is. That's all we can do, really.
I think that just shows as well that the poor lad's probably just shattered.
Yeah.
How many minutes has he played this season? He must be top. He must be top over all the competitions. And we've got a core of players who've, let's say done okay this season, but we're having to call on them when we don't need to, like Thursday night. They've done the work in the first leg Thursday, and we've had to go back to these players on this Thursday just gone because to get us out of a hole. Otherwise, we would have possibly gone out of the Europa League. Now, some fans might say, that's a good thing because of where we are in the Premier League, but it'd go down in history, wouldn't it, if we would have chucked that first leg away as one of the worst defeats in modern times. So, yeah, it's a shame that Nets isn't in the Europa League squad because he could play in there. Then that could give Nico some time off. If only would have kept another striker, wouldn't have had to have made a sub in there, would we? But it was out of character for me. I just think he's probably just shattered, mate. And it's one of them with City. Like, I think we'll probably go to a back five or back three, however you want to say it. And could Nets come in at left wing back? Possibly. But then you're thinking City look to get at you down the wings. Nico, not many wingers get the better of Nico, if any. So we can't. I know you're going into City thinking, yeah, it's a game what we don't really expect much from, but you can't write it off completely. You know what I mean? You've got to go into every game thinking, well, we could get something. So you never know. Look at the City game in the first season when we got up. We got battered for 75 minutes. They probably should have been 2 or 3-0 up. It was 1-0. We put one move together and we got a point out of it. So, yeah, but it'd be an interesting one if he does start or not because, he just looks shattered, doesn't he?
Yeah, big time. I mean, obviously, we'll come on to the point. I thought second half, to be fair, Forest, again, Vitor being very proactive rather than reactive. I think he sort of went, right, okay, you know what? I'll give it 10 more minutes. And if not, then we'll change. And he did change, to be fair. He brought on Jay Cunha, he brought on Nets. Off came Williams, off came Amari Hutchinson, who again I thought was quite disappointing tonight, to be honest. There was one incident in the first half where, he had a chance to just break away. He just sort of stopped and fell over the ball and
got caught by 39-year-old James Milner. Yeah,
143 years old. Yeah, which doesn't really say a lot, does it? But I mean, to be fair, I listened to a little bit of Vitor's post-match on the way back, and he said that, and this is true to be fair, he said that when we went to back three and changed shape, we gained a lot more control in the game and we opened up a lot more opportunities, which I thought was very fair. How did you see that, Reiss?
I just saw it as Brighton had us at arm's length, mate. Really, I don't think we caused them many issues at all second half. I mean, can you name me a save Bruggen's made second half?
Probably the one from Gibbs-White, the header, which again should be done better.
He should have done better, but it's a catch, isn't it? There's not one opportunity in the game as a whole, because that's why it's the same old story in the game as a whole where you're thinking, God, he's made a good save there. There was that bit of a scramble towards the end of the game, wasn't there, when we were, had a few pop shots and that, and it was pinballing around the air. But you're going to expect that because they're going to, with a 1-goal lead, just sit off you, and there's going to be a couple of crosses get put into the box. But yeah, it might have allowed us to have more control of the ball, etc. But I just thought Brighton was at arm's length, and I actually thought, they probably didn't need to go overboard really to get the win, and it showed because, like I've just said, their goalkeeper didn't really have much to do, in my opinion.
Probably should have done, really. I mean, look at some of the chances that we did have, or all the areas, I should say. Obviously, the big chance came from Taiwo planting a header wide when he should score that. I'm sorry, he should score that. We all love Big T, and we all called him to come on because Igor wasn't doing anything, but he should score that header for me, and that's 2-2. But what I found most frustrating was that we had the ball in a lot of good areas second half, especially once we made the switch, I think, which is probably what more alluded to, where we had the ball in really dangerous areas in the final third, and whether it was Gibbs-White, whether it was Ndoye, whether it was Hudson-Odoi, whether it was Bakwa, none of them could put anything in that was of any use, which I think was the most frustrating part for me, because it's like you've done the hard bit getting into that area, you've done the hard bit beating your man. And in Bakwa's case, I think he beat his man twice and just crossed it straight out of play in one of the instances. You've done all the hard work, sort of getting past your fullback and in an area where you can cross the ball or drill it across goal, and you've just given it away basically. I mean, how frustrating was that for you to watch? Obviously, to sort of see how that unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pleased you've mentioned Bakwa when teeing me up for a question, because I'm actually sick of the sight of people saying how bad he is when it's the same people who were pleading with the club to just part with the 30 million that Strasbourg wanted. You can't now have it both ways when he's still ultimately, I know Reiss is a big fan of this kind of notion. He's a young lad, he's in a new country, he's probably not got his family here with him. Again, it's not an excuse. He's in a very privileged position of playing professional football in the best league in the world. That said, that doesn't mean it's just automatically going to fall for him. I mean, he's another player who's feeding on scraps in terms of minutes. He's had that injury. Okay, he's looked badly short of confidence. I think we kind of put that blame down to Dyche knocking all the confidence out of him, didn't we? But I actually thought his performance today was a little bit more positive. I think you can clearly tell he's still struggling with that confidence a little bit. I think that situation that you just mentioned was a prime example. I wouldn't have begrudged him just fizzing that at the top corner, And if it goes eye wide and horrible, then so be it. But he didn't. He kind of got stuck in between the two situations, didn't he? He didn't know whether to cross it, didn't know whether to shoot, and kind of just made himself look a little bit silly, didn't he? So, yeah, I think it's annoying for me that so many people were telling us that. I mean, I wasn't one of the people who claimed to be a French football expert. We were told that if Leeds get him, it'll be a massive mistake, and Sunderland want him as well, and their recruitment's amazing, and we need to push out all the stops to go and sign him. And then after what's he played? Probably 10 games for us, all from the bench. Everyone's saying he's crap and Edu's rubbish, and everyone needs sacking who was involved in the deal. It's nauseating. I honestly can't wait for the season to finish for stuff like that, because what's the solution? I keep seeing so many people contradict themselves. Oh, they're knackered. Right, well, we've got a manager who's making subs on the 55th minute, which is refreshing after Dyche. And yet then it's just I don't know. It's just a mess, isn't it, with all these fringe players? But like I say, they're not going to get any better by not playing. So at least in theory, Backwards should benefit from a good 20-25 minute run out today. But yeah, I just think it's gone, because we're in this situation. It'd be nice if let's say, for example, because this is how close we are, by the way. Let's say we beat Palace and Wolves. We'd have an extra 4 points, and we probably would be in a situation going into the Midtjylland game, before we know what happens on Wednesday night with the next round of fixtures. We'd probably be in a position where we could probably say, do you know what? We'll kind of make wholesale changes for this, or we'll make wholesale changes for the Fulham game, for example. But we're not. We just keep blowing these opportunities. So the fringe players are just going to stagnate and stay at a certain level. And yeah, it's just frustrating, because you can just see some of them that, I mean, McAtee's not got any again today, has he? And he was one after the Ferencvaros game where you thought, yeah, you know what, get him some minutes in the Prem and we're laughing here. But then Dyche isolated him for a month. So he's back to square one. So I don't really know what the answer is with it. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of go back to the question you asked, I thought Back was probably the pick of our wingers today, to be honest. He did a lot more than Hutchinson. And I am a fan of Hutchinson, to be honest. I've just got this thing in my mind with Hutchinson that he always seems to play better when he's coming off the bench. I think he's a better impact sub. But But yeah, again, he's another one, isn't he? I go back to what I said in our group as well, kind of rambling on a bit with this, but I mean, you look at the players like Hutchinson, McAtee, Backwell, there was no experience added in. You look at players like Milner, Xhaka, Henderson, our fans would have frowned upon those sort of signings over the three I've just mentioned that we did sign. But, I mean, Brighton certainly aren't frowning at the concept that they signed Milner, are they? Brentford are sixth, aren't they? With Jordan Henderson pulling the strings. I mean, that was where we went wrong. You can bemoan that they're the wrong players. They're probably the right players in the wrong transfer window, to be honest, because we probably needed maybe two of them and to sign a Xhaka or something like that. Just a bit of an experienced head, so that if the situation was dire like it is now, there's someone in that dressing room saying, right, let's just stay grounded here and try and kick on. But this is where we are, I suppose, with the Fringe player.
I think with McAtee, who's probably not going to get on today because Gibbs-White was his best player. Yeah. I wouldn't want McAtee to come on again and just be shoveled out from the wing. So, Pereira, to be fair, he's gone light for light with Backwell. I thought on the ball he was okay. I actually seen him become a bit. I think you could see his confidence go up with when he had the shot that was blocked, because that was goal ban. There was a chance that was going to go in. When it got blocked, I think Lewis Dunk might have blocked it. But the problem with Backwell was the cheap fouls he gave away. Just naive fouls. At the latter stage of the game. But
I will say in Backwell's defence, that ref was very trigger happy towards you. I mean,
there was like that.
There was one instance where Ndoye and the fullback were both tussling with each other. 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Yeah.
Nothing. Again, it wasn't anything ontowards, but he's given a foul their way once Ndoye's got past him. It's like they're literally both doing the same thing to each other. It's either a foul or it isn't. It's infuriating. But no. It's just, I don't know where you are. I mean, I suppose if you're looking for positives, I suppose. I mean, I personally thought that, Brighton actually started the second half fairly well. They got a few more shots on goal. When we made the switch, they didn't have a single shot again for the rest of the game. Definitely not on target. Their last shot on target came in the 53rd minute, which was before the subs. So that is, I think, some cause for sort of optimism. Again, we're getting into good areas. Again, it's just delivery. But I am intrigued. I mean, I suppose another positive as well. We're game down. No one's gaining ground on us.
Yeah.
We're 90 minutes closer to ending the season, which is nice. But I mean,
it's just it's the same old as what it was on the Dyche. Wasn't it? The frustration again from fans is because we've had an ample opportunity today to push on. We haven't. Everyone else has lost round us. Leeds have lost, Spurs have lost, West Ham's lost. We won today. We could have gone above Spurs, for example. Palace have lost as well. You're gaining ground on everybody. Even if we draw today, it's another point.
Point gains, yeah.
And then you think, well, West Ham's at a win behind us because their goal difference is a little bit worse than ours, isn't it? Theirs is. But, we can't even do that. And when do West Ham play? Do they play Tuesday night or Wednesday night this week, West Ham?
Not too sure. I'll have a little look for you right now. I think they are. I assumed everyone's playing Wednesday. I didn't realise it was.
No,
Wednesday. They play Wednesday.
They play Wednesday.
Yeah.
Tottenham Palace is on Thursday.
But they'll look at that now and thinking they've got Fulham away. Fulham are a decent side, but it can be very hit and miss. Forest are going to Man City. They'll think, right, if we win tonight, we're probably going to get out of the relegation zone and put Forest in it.
I don't think they'll beat Fulham personally. I mean, I
know. I'm surprised if they got a result.
I would be surprised personally. I think I would be. Fulham a decent team at home. I think away not so much, but at home I'd fully expect them to win that game. But obviously we can't expect
hope so.
Anyway. Yeah, let's hope so indeed.
Because then West Ham's got City, and then it's the opposite way around. They've got City, we've got Fulham, and that's another opportunity for us again.
Back to it again though. But would you be against us going for the three at the back against City, Reiss? Obviously, I presume maybe Next will play, maybe Williams or not. But would you? Obviously, this is it. I mean, it isn't obviously a game you just write off completely. I mean, there is still a chance for us to get something. As you touched upon at the start of the show, you might get battered for 89 minutes and in the other minute spring up and get a goal and win the game 1-0. Who knows? We completely derail their title bid and we're laughing and, Arsenal love us forever. Stranger things have happened. But what sort of game plan would you go into for the City game? Would you stick with more of the same, the 4-3-1, or would you go for a switch? Because again, touching on what Vitor said, he said that he wants us to have two systems he can rotate between.
I'd expect the switch for City because I actually think we got some joy playing that system in the second season, didn't we, at home when we lost 2-0? We actually played quite well that game, and stupidly, it was an error for the goal. Wanted it from a set piece for Guarby, and then Harden scored second half, didn't he? Hopefully he's not fit because he obviously missed yesterday against Leeds. So that's one thing. According to the FPL, that Nico O'Reilly, who's on form at the minute, he's an injury risk. That would be nice, but I only know that because he's in the FPL team.
He
but
came
we'll
off
see with that.
O'Reilly, I think.
Yeah, I think he did. 10 men behind the ball. Well, 11 men behind the ball. It's going to be tough, whatever system you play. But yeah, I do think he'll revert to that 3 at the back, personally. Yeah, I think if Ortega's not fit, it'll be Sells. Probably. I actually think Nets will probably play, but whether he moves Nico to right back and rests Aina, there's a possibility, because I actually thought he looked tired today, Aina, and no surprise he'd come off. And then you've got your back 3. And then it's probably going to be like Anderson, Sangare, Gibbs-White, and then
Eagle.
we're at a point where you're kind of saying, would you give Tara a run? But we're literally saying, what, half a dozen games ago, maybe, that he's completely finished, which I do think he is long term, but he is a professional footballer, so they do have moments, and not like Orzada playing down the park on a Monday night. And that's kind of where we've got to, because now we've decided that as January signing, when we've got rid of a striker, he's not good enough to even make the matchday squad.
Apparently he was a genuine injuries out, supposedly.
Right, okay.
It must be all that running he did on Thursday night, I think.
Yeah, well, I find it that a little. It might be true, but I find that a little debatable after the performance he put in on Thursday, and then we're starting to see reports that we're not happy with him after the game. I
wouldn't be happy with him either. But apparently he was limping, supposedly, out the door at the end. But yeah, you are right in that. Again, this is exactly what
How is he injured? How was he injured? I'm sorry, but how was he injured himself?
Probably fouling the play what he got a yellow card for on Thursday.
Probably twisting his calf by doing that or something. Oh God, you couldn't make it up, could you? But
this is why we've got problems, stuff like this, because we've not got a striker we can hang his hat on. I looked at the table yesterday, and Burnley, who have been second bottom pretty much the whole season, I think they've scored 6 more goals than us.
Yeah,
that's quite damning, isn't it? Burnley, who I don't think anyone will give any chance of staying up, have scored 6 more goals than us, who come up last season against the side who finished 7th.
It's just like, it reminds me of Borough. When Borough went down with Karanka in charge before they sacked Karanka, when they had a really good defence but just couldn't score. It was literally
when they had Negredo up top.
And we've only let in 1 more goal at Man United this season, and I think the same as Liverpool. And yet here we are in 2 points clear of the drop zone, unable to finish any chances whatsoever, or even create them today. In this instance,
that is the problem, though, isn't it?
That is a concern. Yeah,
you're just recycling it every pod episode. We just can't score the goal. Like I said today, Brighton got 2-1 up. I never thought we looked like scoring. Second half, even when they sat back a little bit and the game's drifting on, I never thought we looked like scoring at all. It's just been the same old all season. We just don't create enough chances.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, especially given everything else that happened around.
Just to add to that Burnley stat, Burnley had more goals disallowed yesterday than we've scored in February. And
I think today showed as well again how much we miss Elanga. We've got 4 wingers who. None of them are anywhere near that speed. Like, imagine Elanga. At times, it could be, with some fans, speedboat without a drive. But imagine that Elanga when Hutchinson got away.
Yeah,
Hutchinson turned back because he had a 40-year-old or 39-year-old James Milner chasing him. But that to me is down to confidence.
Yeah, because we saw it on Thursday.
Yeah,
Hutchinson
you saw it on Thursday.
Yeah, he left the whole defence behind him.
Yeah, but you seen him open his body up far too early and take a shot far too early, and that to me is just down to confidence.
Yeah, very frustrating. Anyway, we will move on to some of our sponsors. So first and foremost, we'll start with Trent Side Threads, who have obviously very forest-based merchandise, very forest specific. Obviously, got their Amarillo shirt and the Eagle Jesus one for visual offers. If you are visual readers of that, if you are interested in this and want to purchase anything, you can get 10% off by using the code RSOT with 2 T's. That's at trendsidefreds.co.uk. And then we also have Vesta Blinds as well, which provides stylish, high-quality, made-to-measure blinds and shutters at a great price. Give your home the perfect finishing touch with stunning, expertly fitted window coverings from Vesta Blinds. And then, of course, we also have a certain delivery service, which will take things for you up and down the country, as delivered by Reiss here. He might even tell you about how Forest scored a goal once upon a time. That would be nice. But
well, I'm going to watch Newport on Tuesday night, so hopefully see some goals.
You probably will. Probably get more the right end than us.
Anyway. Bottom of the FL, Newport.
Oh yeah, so I came up in Fob's quiz, didn't it? They loved it though. But anyway, we'll now move on to, once I find the video, some slept on it thoughts from the day. Well, not so slept on it thoughts anyway.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
As you can imagine, these are mostly going to be very cheerful. But we've got Cardiff going. Can't score goals, and ultimately that will send us down. We need to prioritise the league and sack off the Europa League to an extent. Too many look leggy. Now, Nico and Murillo off it. Great opportunity not taken to pull ourselves away. We look doomed. On to City. Come on, your Reds. Bennett says the writing on the wall is becoming impossible to ignore. It's hard to see where the next win is coming from. Brucey just says, I watched a 40 and 34-year-old boss of £100 million worth of midfielders. I'm at a loss. Lewis Morris, Forest given an opportunity to pull clear and fumble it. Shocking defending today. Nico used to show reliable, but cost us 2 goals today. Worrying times. Teams won't keep slipping up for us. Need to pull a rabbit out of a hat on Wednesday, seeing as can see West Ham beating Fulham. Tom Newton says, passionate thoughts on a long drive home, so poor. The players we can rely on are absolutely spent, both mentally and physically. But subs offered nothing. Back with brain dead. Too predictable, as is our playing creativity. Missed opportunity. We don't help ourselves. Really worried. Capacity in function said the chances will not keep coming. The longer it goes on, the more it's on the players. Man City is a write-off, so relying on Marinakis' favourite, Marco Silva, to do us a favour. The fact that Milner was man of the match against our much vaunted midfield is a real indictment. Ricky Knowles says we need to drop the Europa League and stay up. Johnny Ancliffe says going down, lads, let's accept it. Jace Andrews says spineless and pathetic once again. Feel sorry for Morgan as the only one showing fight and passion. West Ham to be above us by Wednesday night, and once we're below dotted line, I think we'll stay there. Mark Baker says recruitment's killed us. A January window was even worse than summer one. We have players dead on their feet because we can't rotate as every game becomes more and more vital to stay up. As much as it pains me, we have to ditch Europe. Matty Moons says you can clearly see how Europe is hurting us in the league. We look tired against Liverpool and obviously leggy today. Is it time to choose one over the other? And then from Facebook, we have Paul York, just said bottlers. Richard Bin said the championship is looming. Shane Millward said has so many chances to pull clear the relegation zone every time we fail. Paul Curtis says poor today, can't see where the next point's coming from. Darren Reynolds, let's hope West Ham keep losing. I think that's the only hope of staying up. Stephen Hallam, nothing to worry about. It's only Man City, Fulham, and a big 6 point that we Spurs to come. And Albert Ursey, last but not least, so look tired but also arrogant. Too many players thinking that because they've got a big price tag on them, they're going to get time on the ball without being closed down. We didn't close them down at all, and our decision making the few times we went forward was horrendous. Thank you as always for getting in your steps on it thoughts. Always honest, always appreciated. I suppose rather than look at player performances, because really apart from Gibbs-White, everyone else was at best a 6, and in most cases way beneath that. We'll talk on a topical theme there, obviously, with Europa League. I mean, I'm personally in a boat of I'm not sacking this off. I don't see, you can say you can risk it as much as you like. I personally think we'll have enough to manage both anyway. But are you in a sort of camp yet where you're sort of favouring one, like sort of in that sort of boat of, oh yeah, should we bin it off, should we not sort of thing? Or are you still very much like one game at a time FC?
I'm just sick of seeing us lose football matches, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in the Premier League. And I think it's a good question. I do think it's a really good question. It's a good point and kind of respectful of however. I get that lots of people want to stay in the Premier League, but at the same time, I don't think it's ideal to lose football matches in whichever competition you're playing in. And I think we're seeing that some of these players, not all of them, obviously we've seen today that Gibbs-White is certainly up for the fight, but some of them are taking it firmly to heart that they keep losing football matches. So the more we can, we saw when we beat Fenerbahce away, we saw what that did to the performance against Liverpool. And we were still a little bit toothless. We still lost the match. But I think if we played that same match again 10 times, it'd be different. So yeah, no, I certainly won't be sacking it off. I think Midtjylland is a very Elliot won't like me saying this, but I'll say it anyway. I've started, so I'll finish. It's a very winnable draw. Let's face it. I think we all agreed that the performance against them at home was an Ange disaster class, and I do think it's a much more favourable draw than Betis would have been. They're currently fourth in La Liga, I think, fourth or fifth. So yeah, I'd certainly. We've gone past the point of no return when it comes to sacking things off now. Like you've alluded to, Christian. To be fair, as much as I am a little bit doom and gloom, and I can't see where the next point's coming from, it is another round of matches where we're still not in the bottom three. And do you know what? If Fulham can somehow help us out and we still stay out of it, having got Man City away out of the way, then yeah, I just don't think it's quite at the situation yet where we're going to sack it off. I'm just not a big fan of sacking. It's 30 years since we've played in Europe. Nottingham Forest shouldn't be a football club that just sacks off a European competition. I can't get my head around that. So yeah, I'm definitely not in that camp. But yeah, I just like to see a little bit more rotation. I think the time has come now to stop. We've seen that some of this 11 need breathers. They need time out of the team. We've got to start placing a bit more trust in some of these players that everyone's saying aren't good enough. We've got to turn around some of these and say, right, this is your chance. You're getting a game in the Prem because X, Y, and Z, aren't fit. They're not 100%. So, yeah, I think there's certainly some big decisions for the manager and the coaching staff. But yeah, I'm certainly not in the camp of sacking any competition off at this stage when we're desperate to win football matches.
No, I'm pretty much the same. I was having a look now. I mean, I actually personally thought that the ones who came on really, these fringe players who have been much maligned, especially by other parts of ivory tower Twitter, let's call it, who think that they got the last manager the sack and whatever else, and which obviously wasn't the case. He got himself the sack, just about fine enough. I thought Cunha was decent when he came on today. I thought Nets looked decent when he came on today. Someone who was completely omitted because he hadn't done the hard yards and not eaten or eats gravel 15 times a day for breakfast or something stupid. I thought Backwell looked sharp when he came on. I thought even Doy looked sharp when he came on. He got a bit hard done by some of the fouls, but he at least looked to take his man on. Obviously, Big T is Big T, but these are 4 players we've all signed in the summer. I thought they all sort of contribute today in some form. They're better than the ones they replaced anyway. So,
I mean, the thing is as well. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because the Lucas signing was that was a Dyche signing. I'm not saying Dyche picked him, but I think it was a signing to appease Dyche, wasn't it? I think people behind the scenes thought, right, if we're going to keep this manager, I'm going to keep smacking balls up long, we'll get him a striker that's tailor made for it. But to be fair, I'm not trying to defend the indefensible. If Edu went tomorrow, I wouldn't lose any sleep. But what I'm saying is, the other 2 players we signed in January were Nets and Ortega. Well, looking at our group chat earlier, we're all kind of in the camp that Ortega is at the minute an upgrade on Sells because Sells has dropped off this season, and Nets has looked absolutely fine. He's a player that's played a number of times in the Bundesliga. Is it over 100 appearances in the Bundesliga? And he's 21, 22. So
even this season, he's played quite a bit. It's probably why he looks sharp, to be fair, because he's actually played for half a season consistently.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all love a January window where we go out and sign a 50, 60 million pound striker, but ultimately there was only one club who did that, and it was Palace when they thought they were selling Mateta and they ended up getting Strand Larsen. Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Could we have got Strand Larsen? Maybe. I think he's only scored a couple of goals, hasn't he? But obviously the argument will be I do get the notion. I know that there is a club that did go out and do it, but we know January is a tough window to sign it. But I just think we're already being quite dismissive of the January window, saying it failed. Well, yeah, we'd have all loved a striker, but it's the hardest position to strengthen in that particular window. There's no patience with any signings, and I get it because we're perilously close to the drop zone. People want these signings to come in and look like a 9 out of 10 performance every single time. But like I say, we've not seen loads of him. But Nets has looked absolutely fine. He brings balance being left-footed, and Ortega's had some really good performances. So yeah, again, there just doesn't seem to be any patience. Everyone just is desperate for that win as a fan base that we're kind of basically just saying everything's rubbish, I think, if that makes sense.
No, I get you. Reiss, fight yourself. Are you in a position where you want to throw away your Open League? I'm guessing I know what else is going to be to this, but I have to ask you anyway.
That's not going to happen. The club are not going to actively throw the Europa League. Otherwise, they'd have done it already. Let's be honest, wouldn't they? They'd have just tossed it off in the league stage, because when we was getting to the back end of the league stage, we was in a relegation fight. I mean, we appointed Deitch when we was 3 games into Europa League, didn't we? His first game was FC Porto after we played Betis and Midtjylland. So the club's not going to toss it off. You know, the owner will. The Premier League will be the priority. Of course, it will be, because that is the priority. But the owner will think, well, this squad should be going across on 2 fronts. And he'll, you know what Marinakis is like, he'll still have his eyes on that Europa League, because the competition, let's be honest, isn't the most quality in it, isn't it? I think if we were, let's say we were 12th in the Premier League and, you know, doing okay this season, I think we'd all look at it and think, well, we've got enough quality to probably even go on and win the competition. You know what I mean? Apart from the only side you'd say is better than us 100% is Villa, and they've just lost to Wolves on Friday night. So you never know over one game of football, for example. But it's not going to get tossed off by the club. The issue is, and I think what's fans' concerns, and rightly so, is when we do rotate, the drop-off's massive, as we saw Thursday night. I think if we was to rotate heavily for Midtjylland, I would be concerned in the sense that they're quite organised. Yeah. And I actually think they cause us real issues from set pieces. And then the other problem is that we're not going to probably start these players who have been starting Europa League in the Premier League, because the drop-off's so big. They just can't, whatever we think of, if they've had enough minutes or managers are treating them wrongly, they just can't be trusted at the minute. I don't think from the start. You know, like today, yeah, there was odd moments from Bakrin and Doy where it gave you some positivity, but you know, these are £35 million wingers. You know, I'd like to think they can knock the ball past the man and try and run the channel. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's not going to get tossed off, but I think fans would probably hope for some kind of heavy rotation Europa League. I mean, the keeper don't really matter. I mean, we haven't got any fullback cover unless Savona comes back. I seen he put on Instagram earlier he was back in the gym, so obviously he'd come in if he was fit. You know, you could bring, for example, you could rest Murillo, but then you'd be bringing Morato in, who's always got a mistake in him, and fans are always on his back. You know, Dominguez could come in, yeah, Yatesy comes in, but he divides opinion, and he was poor Thursday night, for example. The 2 wingers definitely divided opinion. McAtee, just again another one, and then Luca, everyone's washed their hands of. So, you know, if he was to put that team out, which everyone would say, which would class as tossing Europa League off, if he was to go out to Midtjylland and put on an absolute disaster class, they would start moaning as well. You know what I mean? So you can't really win. And like Lee said, I think winning games in any competition helps. Yeah, I think it does. I do. So the club aren't going to toss it off fully, but they're probably going to, I think Pereira will be looking to rotate more. And let's be honest, if we was to rotate at home to Midtjylland, let's say we put Backward and Doy and McAtee, you're talking £100 million there and 3 players. Midtjylland would love to have that type of riches. Yeah. They're probably signing, what did Bilham cost him? Probably $5 million. And he's probably their record signing. And that's the levels. And the problem is it's just not producing. Whatever, you know, and there is caveats to it. Of course, there is. It's not just one opinion's binary and that's it. But it's just a mess, and it really is. I'm just so frustrated, you know, because of my love for the club. I'm just so exasperated every week that whenever we get a chance for things to be better, you know, we seem to miss an opportunity. You know, we got the amazing result in Fenerbahce on a couple of Thursdays ago, and United kind of high as a kite, and then you get brought back down to earth on Thursday night where you're literally scraping through after fans have paid at least 50 quid, which they'll have to pay again for the next round. So as well, you've got to go out and give a performance for the fans as well when they're paying that kind of money. You know what I mean? People aren't going to pay at least 50 quid to watch us turn up against Midtjylland and think, oh, well, we'll just play how we want, like it's a friendly. So it's about pride, isn't it, as well? And again, like Lee says, the more games you can win, I think the better across any competition. So no, as a fan, the Europe has been the only release this season. And Danny said it on the last pod, I'd have been absolutely devastated had we gone out to Fenerbahce. Devastated. because for me, Europe's a dream, and the dream would have been over, and it would have been back to the nitty-gritty of just trying to survive, and it's horrible because we've done it out the last 4 seasons. We've done it 3 out of the last 4 seasons. Thankfully, twice we've succeeded. This season is going to, it's like a death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it, really? I think we just look at the team below us in West Ham and think, well, they've got some good players. We've got a manager who we know. And it's kind of like, it gives you that bad vibe, doesn't it?
Thing is, like, I mean, I think a lot's been made of West Ham. I've been made out to believe they're some sort of super team.
No,
like, let's have it right. Like, if you look at the
we had that with Luton, didn't we, as well?
Yeah, but it's exactly the same. And they're a better proposition than Luton. No one's saying they aren't. They have a good team. They have a good set of players. They're also a team that we beat with Sean Dyche, and we were absolute dog shit that night, and we still beat them. Like, let's have it right. But I'm being told that they're like the Galacticos of Real Madrid. Their winning run consisted of Spurs, who are Spurs. They beat Sunderland of half their team at AFCON, and they beat Burnley. The other teams they beat were Burton Albion and QPR in extra time on that 6-game run. They drew at home to United. Yeah, fine, good point. They also drew at home to Bournemouth. Bad point. They really need to win that game, especially with the chances they created. And I'm meant to believe they're going to win 15 games in a row. No, they're not. I'm not taking it for granted that they are where they are. I know they got a good performance in them. We've seen they got a good performance in them. Yeah, fine. You can't underestimate anyone at Premier League level. But equally, I'm not having it. They're some sort of superstar team that we have to be in absolute awe and blown away by. They aren't that good. They've played nearly 30-odd games now, and there's 2 points adrift at the bottom. They're there for a reason. I
think what the disappointing thing is from this weekend is you look at the fixtures in front of you and thinking the onus is on us this weekend because they've got Liverpool away, we're away at Brighton. You're thinking, right, this is a weekend where you're looking at it on paper and thinking, right, we can, take his chance here. Midweek, the onus is back on them. They've got Fulham away. It will be a tough game. Every game's quite tough in the Premier League, as Villa found out Friday night. But they'll look at it and think, well, Forest going away to City. I mean, City will probably be where the book is 1-6, something like that. Yeah, they're going away to Fulham, and they'll be thinking, right, well, we expect Forest to get beat. So even if we can get a point at Fulham, it narrows that gap. You know what I mean? So I think that's the frustration with West Ham.
Yeah, it's to see.
I think on a given day, West Ham can beat Fulham, in my opinion. But we'll see. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, we will see. But I mean, again, we had it before. All I saw this week was West Ham fans telling me, "Oh, how bad must Liverpool be if Forest have pushed them to the 97th minute? We'll roll these easy at Anfield." They conceded 5 goals there. That's how good Forest.
That's what you're going to get on social media, innit?
Yeah, I know,
we had that with Luton, and I always remember the one Luton one where it was when we played them at Kenilworth Road, and it was all the Luton players really care about Luton, and the Forest players don't give a toss. And then they really cared about them when they were playing in League One, didn't they? Because they all buggered off, like Carlton Morris, and that went to Derby, and the rest of them. So,
I mean, to be fair,
it's going to be like that on social media.
We are seeing that a little bit this week, aren't we? I mean, I saw people say, I wish we had the fight of Wolves. Wolves have got 13 points all season. It's March. I mean, come on. Let's. I get it's bad and I get it's really drab, but come on, let's. I was just going to throw into the mix as well. I think, with the rotated team for the Europa League campaign and things like that, I think we're going to get another golden chance, aren't we? I know Fulham are in good form, but Fulham at home, if we say we need 4 more wins as a minimum, that's got to be deemed must win now. So if we get through the City game kind of unscathed in the sense that it's not an absolute thrashing, and West Ham help us out again and don't go above us, I think we're going to have to rest. We're certainly going to have to rest kind of Gibbs-White, Murillo, probably the keeper. But certainly all your key players that are your match winners. Not that we've got loads this season, but yeah, we can't risk any big injuries to sort of Gibbs-White or Murillo and players of that nature going into that Fulham game. So yeah, definitely an interesting few days ahead. I think West Ham are still in the FA Cup, aren't they?
They are.
They'll play in that next week, which is an extra game for them, I suppose.
Home, I believe.
That's this weekend, isn't it? Next weekend, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Monday night they play.
Yeah, so we get an extra a 4 or 5 day period of rest on them. Then fine, yeah. But no, it's not ideal, is it, scenario? But anyway, before we wrap up, obviously we have got Man City next on Wednesday. I think we'll have a pod for you on Thursday. Whether that's in the morning or the evening, we don't know yet, but it'll be there. Lee, what is your prediction for Manchester City away?
I don't know. I don't really want to be too negative, but we're not going to get anything, are we? Let's face it. I think what doesn't help us this year is that City are firmly in the title race. It's back on. They've both won this weekend. Arsenal go to Brighton, so City might see it as a good opportunity in a week where, a game week where Arsenal drop points. Yeah, I think we're going to lose. I'm hoping we avoid an absolute disaster of a performance and keep that goal difference reasonably healthy. I don't know. I think it'll be 3. Let's go for a repeat of last season. I think it was 3-0 last season, wasn't it? Yeah. I think I can already kind of see how it's going to go. I fancy them to score early, fancy them to race out the blocks, probably get a second one on the half hour. And then I think we'll dig in, show some sort of resilience, and then they'll wrap it up in the second half. And if that comes true, I'm going to go off and put 6 numbers on for next week's lottery.
Reiss, what about yourself?
I mean, even the most hardened and positive Forest fan, I don't think would predict us to get anything at Manchester City. Would be? It's going to be vastly tough. I was just looking if I could find the odds quickly, what they actually are. Well, they're actually quite a bit shorter than one. So 19 to 50 on Bet365 is a strange one. So yeah, around just under 1 to 3, aren't they? But yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, if we got anything, I'd be shocked. It's a shame we're kind of having to rely on Fulham to do us a favour again. But yeah, like Lee said, I think the aim on Wednesday night is just kind of come through it unscathed without getting thrashed. Hopeful and beat West Ham, and then the onus is back on us then with the fixtures. We've got the week after or so, but we've got to take it, and we just so many times this season we've not took it. Today's another prime example, but yeah, the positive is I'll go that we'll actually score this time, because we've not scored there, have we, in the Prem, aside from when we beat them in the FA Cup them years ago, 3-0 for those that were there that day. That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Yeah, Tyson Earnshaw and Joe Garner wanted that day. But I'll go 3-1 to City, mate. I'd be shocked if we was to get anything. I obviously hope I'm wrong. And it actually wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal slipped up this week and don't beat Brighton. I actually have a feeling that may be a draw.
Can I just say, playing devil's advocate here, so we're saying that Arsenal, the league leaders who are currently 5 points clear, albeit with a game in hands, are going to go to Brighton and slip up. And yet, us going here is an absolute disaster and losing today.
Yeah, but that is, you're right what you say, Christian, but that is our fans in a nutshell. I think, and that's, again, the last thing I want to do is become one of them fans that gets platforms and tells other fans how to think. Of course, we demand a certain standard to be set, and obviously this season we've dropped a long way below that standard. But there is still a section of the fan base that, whether it's that they were around in the glory days, and again, I'm not kind of being arrogant or ignorant towards those fans, but there is some people who genuinely think we're a better club than we are. So yeah, I just think that's nature of the beast with this fan base. I genuinely think this. It's the same as I always say. I genuinely think that we have fans who a player will turn in one bad performance and they automatically think he's crap. That's just the way of the world in this day and age. With the ability to sit and watch a game of football with your keyboard, we all know which fans I'm on about. Who everything that happens is being reacted to, and then when they do something good, they're the best thing since sliced bread. So that's just nature of the beast. I think the frustrating thing about Brighton and not laying a bit more of a glove on them is that they have struggled at home. It's another game where I think we said before the game, if we get that early goal ourselves, which we did, but it came after they'd already got one. Yeah. The crowd would go quiet. They'd get on their backs. I don't think they've won at home since January the 3rd before today or something like that. So that's the frustration, and I get that. You're allowed to be frustrated at that, but you're quite right. I still think Brighton are... I mean, everyone's been saying all the time, why can't we be more like Brighton? Why can't we recruit like Brighton? Which is strange, because all I've seen Brighton fans do is, our recruitment's finally, fallen off a cliff, and it's bitten us on the arse for the first season in 10. But that's just our fans now. They see things that it's strange. It's such a strange thing. But yeah, I do tend to agree with you. I think Brighton are still a decent team. They're only 3 points off of Everton now, aren't they, or something, in the race for Europe?
Yeah, incredibly.
What it was, though, today is that we got we looked at Brighton. Obviously, they won last week at Brentford and stopped that rot. But then you're looking at like their home form, and the crowd's been on the back a bit recently. You concede early, you get back on terms. You're thinking, right, let's grow into the game a bit. The crowd will probably get a bit grumpy, a bit disgruntled, and we might kind of nick something. But they get ahead straight away after we get level, and then they see the game out. And why I'm kind of saying I think they may get a result now is because they've probably stopped the rot home and away, and. Like Lee said, they are a decent side. There's no denying that. We saw them at ours. They completely, for the first half, tore us apart. Could have easily been 3-4-5 and up at half time in that game. So they are a good side. You know what I mean? It's just that I was hoping we'd catch them off when the home form's not been very good. But now they've, like I said, stopped this right. It wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal slipped up there, but we'll see. It don't matter to us anyway because who cares about the title race when we're.
I think
scrapping
with Brighton as well, there's probably an element that in recent weeks they've probably been getting a bit nervy because they're sliding down the league and they're looking
correct.
the gaps to the bottom
and
three.
He was Herschel was on the ropes. If
exactly. And those 2 wins now, they're kind of in that position where they've not really got a great deal to play for, have they? I mean, they have because obviously I've just mentioned the Europe spaces are getting tighter, but there's a lot of clubs between them that they've got to overcome. I think as it takes shape towards the final 6 games, I think they'll fall into that middle ground. I think where they're not going to go down and they're not going to get into Europe. But the pressure will come off now, and they will probably get some decent results.
Sorry, just playing a little bit of devil's advocate there, but it was interesting. I'm going to go for probably another heartbreakingly cruel 2-1 loss. I think we will score, but it'll probably be like Semenyo 90 plus 94 or something stupid.
That's very, very, very hard, isn't it? That
yeah. But I think we can't seem to get any rubber agreement at the minute, can we? It feels like just being pounded.
That's what happens when you're down at the bottom, isn't it?
Like, it just feels like it's been relentlessly just smashed about. Nothing seems to come off. Nothing's going well. I mean, you do get something, you just throw it away within 40 seconds like we did today. So, yeah.
A goal from outside the area from someone who a lot of the time can't shoot.
Yeah. But anyway, so brighten all our moods up. Elliot does have a fact of the day for us, to be fair, today. I'll read it out. It was one I was meant to read out for the Fenerbahce game, but I think, like Reiss said, we all sort of drunk on sort of good vibes. I forgot to mention it and read it out. But he said Grammy Awards trophies are made from a proprietary trademark zinc alloy called Gramium, which is quite fitting. Developed by Billings Artwork in Colorado, this durable custom mixed material containing zinc, aluminium, and other elements is used to cast a gramophone-shaped statuettes, which are then plated in 24-karat gold. So there you go. If you're into music and your Grammys, you've learned something very new. Do you have a football fact for us, Reiss?
Yeah, we're still outside the relegation zone.
Our goal difference on West Ham has improved, to be fair.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So there's a positive.
And on a positive. Is that what gets chucked out the window in The Simpsons, a Grammy?
I think it is.
In the B-Sharps episode, for those who love The Simpsons.
With Homer on the edge, sort of leaving it over, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, he's like, what? He's like, oh, it's an award. Oh, no, it's a Grammy. He just chucks it out. And he's like, that guy below is like, don't throw your garbage down here.
That's it, yeah.
Sorry, anyway, sorry to them as well.
That's right. We can do some more Simpsons references in the world. Anyway, we'll be here for you on Thursday at some stage, morning, evening, depending. We'll recover probably the brutal assimilation of the Manchester City game, but we'll see how it goes. But until then, at least only a few more days till Forest are back in action again. Whether that's a good or bad thing, who knows? But at least some game that sort of shake this one off with. But we'll be back on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it, and come on, you Reds.